The world looks like it's falling apart, and that's awesome. Everywhere you look, it seems like the world's about to implode or explode. There are concerns about nuclear war, the monkeypox, inflation. There's so much divisiveness, us versus them, global warming, and natural disasters. It's like we're in this super intense pressure cooker. So the question is, why is this so amazing? Why is this actually happening? We're at a time that's been foretold by many traditions, and we're in this window of opportunity where those of us who choose to can really jump in our consciousness level. And it needs to get intense for us in order for us to want to wake up, to want to choose something different, to not stay asleep, to really recognize our authority as co-creator of our reality. In this video, I'm going to share 3 takeaways to help you get the most out of this pivotal time. My name is Karen Cheong. I catalyze your shift from the ordinary to the exhilaration of the quantum by giving you the tools to change your frequency resonance so that the life you live matches the life you dream of. At this time, these waves of very highly resonating frequencies are washing through the all that is, not just for humans, not just for the earth, but for everything to have the opportunity to rise in consciousness. When these very highly resonating waves wash through, it rattles all the old heaviness, the density of our distortion, and it really becomes clear to us, like we don't want this heaviness anymore, so that we're forced to wake up and to push away from the distortion and to really clear them so we can rise in our resonance and recognize who we truly are, co-creators of our reality. So how do you not miss out on this amazing opportunity? The first thing is to understand why it's happening and to not let yourself get caught up in the pressure cooker. So my husband was buying equipment for our studio. We tend to buy from the same company. And the sales guy from this company reached out in, really great customer service mode to check in with my husband to say like, hey, how are things going? How are you liking that equipment? And in this conversation, the sales guy asks, what are you using this equipment for anyway? And my husband says, well, my wife puts out this podcast every couple of weeks. And the sales guy says, well, what's the podcast on? And my husband says, well, it's all about learning how to release your distortion patterns and to rise in your frequency resonance so you can reach spiritual awakening and you can have just the most awesome life. And at the end of every episode, she gives a free group frequency calibration, which is kind of like a meditation, but on rocket fuel, because not only are you getting the benefits of meditation, but you're also releasing your distortion patterns. So the sales guy says, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Because about a year and a half ago, all this fear messaging was coming through social media and I was getting overwhelmed by the news and I just felt crappy and I was starting to feel depressed. So I decided to start meditating. And I felt a lot better since then. But now that you're talking about this, I'm really curious about it because I want to know how to release these distortion patterns. So be really, really aware of fear messaging because fear just drops your frequency resonance like a stone. And then you just spin out and you feel crappier and it just seems like doom's everywhere. So don't consume things that have fear messaging. And it's everywhere in social media, the news, internet rabbit hole stuff. So just be aware of what you're looking at and how it makes you feel. If you feel disempowered and angry and like you're a victim and everything is like going to crap, turn it off. It only spins you up into your head into more fear. The solution is to turn within. So the key is to find a practice that works for you, that helps you to rise or to raise your frequency resonance, as opposed to getting sucked into the heaviness and the disempowerment of all that fear-mongering. Another thing you can do to take advantage of this window is to recognize that your body is an incredible tool. I have a client who, when she started with frequency work, had a tremendous amount of fear around driving. Now, the problem was she had to drop off her kids every day to school and then go to pick them up. And every day between the drop-off and the pickup, she would just dread having to get back into the car. So here she was, having to now go pick up her kids in the afternoon. She gets in the car. And all she sees is this roadway, feels this escalating amount of fear and panic about having to get into this road and go to pick up her kids. So what she would do is she would hold onto this rock that she carried with her, and she would grip it like her life depended on it. And she would breathe and feel that rock in her hand, and she would bring herself into her body. She'd be like, okay, what's the distance between my kneecap and my ankle? What's the distance between my two hip bones? And she would breathe. And despite her fear and despite all of this panic, it would start to subside a bit. And even though she still had some residual fear, her pulling herself into her center like this allowed her to begin to drive, to step on the gas, to go pick up her kids. And the amazing thing that happened is the more that she did this, it became faster and faster. So it didn't take as long for her to clear her fear every time she sat behind that wheel. And eventually, she didn't have fear at all when she sat behind that wheel because she was already in her center before she began. And the even more amazing thing is that because she was pulling herself into her center over and over and over again, what happened was her other challenges in her life, including scarcity of not having enough, started to clear as well. Your body only exists in the present moment. Being present in your body keeps you from getting stuck in the mental tailspin. The what ifs, the maybes, all that horrible crap that you could possibly be worrying about. Use your awareness of your body to find your center and anchor into the present moment of time. Everything else is just a story, but we're so consumed with our minds that we often get pulled into those stories which exist only in the mind. So what do I mean by becoming aware of your body in the present moment of linear time? I mean, can't you just do that by focusing on your body? Sure, but oftentimes it takes a little bit more than that. So I would suggest things like pick up a rock that you really like and put it in your pocket, and then just grip it when you're in times of feeling fear or anxiety, or you feel a little like you're spinning out, and feel the texture of that rock. Feel the surface of it against the skin of your fingers. Feel it warming up with your own body heat. Or you could tap your feet against the ground and feel the bounce of the soles of your feet against the surface of the ground. Or you can become spatially aware, what I call triangulating. So being aware of the distance from the ceiling to your head, the walls to you, the floors to you. Now, I realize that it might seem like a little bit weird, but once you do that, it's almost like you find where you are in space and can settle into your center. So coming into your body and being present in the moment is such an incredibly powerful tool. So unless you're in danger of immediate bodily harm, most fear is a projection from your mind. So if you want more distance from your thoughts and from the fear that can spin up through your mind chatter, then click on the link in the description below for my free Quiet Your Mind group frequency calibration. You may not know that you're always co-creating your reality. You're either doing it intentionally or you're doing it unconsciously. So that client of mine who had that fear of driving, well, fear wasn't showing up just there. It was showing up in all aspects of her life. It was showing up in fear around whether her body was going to be well because she was in the middle of a huge health crisis. She was also in fear that she would have enough because at that time she was struggling a lot with abundance and struggling even to pay rent, which is really terrifying if you're a mother. So all of that fear was really heightened. But as she focused on clearing the distortion pattern of fear around driving, all of that other fear that she experienced started to drop away as well. And things started to shift because she was so consistent and relentless with looking at herself, releasing her distortion patterns, and rising in her frequency resonance. She really came into this knowingness of who she was as co-creator of her reality. So it just took a few weeks for her because she was so focused on it. but she started to change in terms of not only how she felt, but in terms of what her life looked like. So all of a sudden, opportunities started to show up. I mean, in addition to just feeling better about driving generally, she started to find these opportunities around diet, so her health crisis started to resolve. Opportunities showed up job-wise, and all of a sudden she found herself moving to an entirely different country, having a whole new level of abundance, being in this house with 4 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms and in this amazing neighborhood with views, and having people come in to clean her house every week. And now this is like compared to struggling to pay the rent. So my point is, when you start to focus on clearing your distortion patterns, it's amazing how fast your life can reorganize. You're always co-creating your reality. You're either doing it intentionally or you're doing it unconsciously. The intentional way is that you're aware that the universe is in response to you and that you, as a human, have distortion patterns. As you clear those distortion patterns, your frequency resonance rises and your reality reflects your clarity. So your reality is more abundant, synchronistic, and just feels so much better. The unconscious way, you have no idea that you have distortions. You're not clearing them. And FYI, the universe is still in response to all of those uncleared distortions. So if you're in the resonance of amplifying fear, that's what your reality is going to reflect. If you'd like to take advantage of this opportunity to rise in your frequency resonance and become a more intentional co-creator, watch my next video. I'll see you inside.